and fire!
Round shot. This is the term for a solid cannonball, which can also be referred to as a solid shot, or simply ball. Solid cannonballs before the 15th century were commonly made of stone, and by the 17th century were mainly made of iron. In the movie, solid cannonballs are rarely shown in battle because they are simply less dramatic. Instead, exploding shells dominate movie battlefields. Such exploding shrapnel shells did exist, some looking much like a solid cannonball but with a fuse. These were packed with black powder and shrapnel. In fact, the first of this type was named after their inventor Henry Shrapnel, whose shell the British adopted in 1803. Exploding shells became common by the mid-19th century, but never replaced solid round shot, which, despite its simplicity, had some advantages over more complex ordnance. One of the few movies to show the horrific effects of round shot is The Patriot, despite being otherwise historically flawed. Round shot can act like a bouncing bowling ball, skipping or plowing through lines of men, breaking bones, removing limbs, or even heads. Round shot can rip through a line, tossing men and equipment into each other. There have been credible reports of round shot injuring up to 40 men from one ball. Less credible reports have led to the belief that the so-called wind of a cannonball passing by men can cause injury or concussion. But this is instead the result of men in tight formations being hit and crashing into each other, unable to identify the cause of their injury. Round shot can be deceivingly powerful. Once a round shot hits the ground, it loses most of its kinetic energy. But if it keeps moving, even at a slow pace, it still has the power to kill. There have been stories of men trying to stop slow-moving cannonballs from entering a line formation, only to have their legs smashed or arms broken. There was a famous exhibitionist, Frank Richards, who was able to catch a 104-pound cannonball in his famous 1920s act. But this ball was spring-loaded, set to go off in tandem with a flash of gunpowder. Still, an impressive feat. Artillerymen or gunners knew the effects of a bouncing round shot. If a cannon could be set up to strike the flanks of a line formation, they were particularly devastating. Round shot was also excellent for defending narrow, hard-packed roadways. The harder the ground, the greater the chance for round shot to bounce. It's a shame round shot was shown as breaking the ice in the 2023 Napoleon movie. Ice is often harder than portrayed in the movies, and would have been a great surface to bounce round shot, making this scene arguably more realistic and terrifying. Historically, round shot was used in smoothbore cannons where it had greater range than other types of projectiles. Besides killing enemy troops, round shot was used to destroy and damage hard targets, like a ship's hull or castle walls. Round shot made quick work of fortifications until about the mid-15th century, when forts were designed specifically to withstand such attacks. Better close-range options to round shot include types of shrapnel shot, like canister shot, or shrapnel shot with a bursting charge. Grape shot is similar but contained in a canvas bag, and was often larger in caliber. Chain shot or split shot was often used to destroy rigging and sails on an enemy ship, but could also devastate soldiers and cavalry. Round shot was best fired from smoothbore cannon, but could be fired from rifled cannon as well. Both types of cannon or artillery were used in high numbers together in the mid-19th century and during the American Civil War. Heavy round shot did tend to damage rifled cannon barrels as the ball bounces around on exit. Round cannonballs, however, could be equipped with winglets, allowing them to better benefit from rifled cannons, helping the ball to spin, improving range and accuracy. Cannonballs and round shot were used alongside the more advanced ogive shells used in the 19th century, such as during the American Civil War. Ogive and cylindrical-shaped shells had greater range and accuracy, but were more expensive to produce, as were their rifled cannons. A solid cylindrical projectile was called a bolt at this time. Smoothbore and solid shot had an additional benefit over rifled cannons. Historically, they were typically faster and easier to load, because the projectile did not need to be rammed so tightly into a rifled barrel. Alright, I'm Johnny. Thank you for watching this video on round shot. I hope the video was impactful. If you want to do me a solid, feel free to bounce your mouse button over to the like button. And most importantly, do take care, take cover, and have a nice rest of your day.